Welcome back to KHOU 11. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, Presidency of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our good friend and partner, none other than Commissioner Rodney Ellis. Welcome to the program.
Always a privilege to be with you, Dr. Murillo.
Thank you so much for all you do, and also thank you for always including the Chamber of Commerce in many conversations as it relates to public policy, doing the right thing. I want to thank you in advance for your friendship and your partnership, and certainly for that $30 million COVID relief fund that the county has put together. Tell us about that for folks who may not be familiar with it.
Well, we wanted to make sure that in addition to doing what we can do to help businesses, many of your members obviously focus primarily on business issues, and Commissioner Garcia took the lead on that with Judge Lena Hidalgo. So we committed about $15 million for the first round. We committed another $30 million. It was 1 a.m. when we finished this past week. But we also want to make sure, in addition to helping our businesses, a lot of people just cannot make basic needs. They can't pay the utilities. They can't pay their rent. And we want to make sure that in addition to hitting the traditional people we think about, we have a lot of people on the margins who are not citizens, but they are part of the backbone of this economy. They pay taxes, they pay income taxes, they pay property taxes, they pay sales taxes. We want to make sure that as part of the lifeblood of this economy, the folks who do the work at those businesses, I always make the point that folks who get the early bus, we don't notice them because they're out before we get up. Yeah. But so that $30 million, I think, is a model for how to make sure we do it fairly. It was a large amount. We're a big county. It was not quite as much pro rata as they did in Austin, but it was big, $30 million. LA did something comparable, but most of that money came from the philanthropic community.
Well,
we did it with your tax dollars.
Who are watching this to visit the Chamber of Commerce website, follow us on social media. We have a lot of information related to the county and these funds and others. SBA, we've been conducting interviews with the Texas Workforce Commission. So come to our Facebook, come to our website, take a look. Commissioner, we cannot have this interview without talking about George Floyd, the marches that have been occurring here, coronavirus, which have impacted minority communities in a most challenging way. What do you have to say about that in terms of remaining safe and social distancing and criminal justice reform?
Well, the COVID numbers are going up a little bit. There's been an uptick, not just here, but in a number of counties and states around the country. So we got to make sure that we look at it. I mean, I know that I've got double disability at least. I'm African American, and I'm old. And I'm in politics, going to more stuff as a public figure than I ought to go to. I do the hand washing. I keep the face mask. But look, we got to be careful. Take it very seriously. The demonstrations obviously may lead to a bit of an uptick. It shows, though, that people are as concerned about that pandemic of racism, of inequality, a virus that was here long before this virus showed up. And a real commitment to do something about it. I was at Mr. Floyd's funeral. It was a somber occasion, but also it was a celebration of his life and a celebration of our hope, the anticipation that we use this moment to really focus on substantive criminal justice reforms.
What would that look like? What would that look like from the county perspective?
Our jail ought to not be the biggest mental health institution in the county. And that's the case here and everywhere in the country. Our jails ought to not be the biggest place that you stick people because they don't have money. That means we ought to focus on bail reform. We ought to make a commitment to improve indigent defense. If you're innocent until proven guilty, you ought to not just take a guilty plea because you want to get out of the jail because you couldn't post bail, or because you have a lawyer you've only seen one time and you've been sitting there for months. So a real commitment. So we passed about 7 or 8 items. Commissioner Garcia had a few. Judge Hidalgo had some. My staff, I told the policy team, they just pulled out the kitchen sink. All the things we've been researching and talking about in a methodical way, we passed it on to our new Office of Justice Administration to come up with best practices around the country for these things. And we also earmarked a floor of $30 million that we're committing we're going to spend in new money to focus on criminal justice reforms. So I think you're going to see some very substantive things coming out of Harris County. And instead of being a backwater, we're on the cutting edge of progressive reforms that are sensible. help make us safe, but not criminalize poverty and get rid of these abusive, racist police practices that have gone on around the country for far too long. Obviously, there are always bad apples. Most law enforcement do a great job, and we all respect them. But we want to have that transparency and accountability.
Yes, accountability is so very important. And as we move forward and continue our partnership with the county, we work on the census with you all. We've worked on going out there in support of funding for small businesses. We've done it virtually. We've done it in person. But certainly as we think of voting and how important, more than ever that is, what are some of the things that the county is doing in terms of making sure that people are safe when they go out to vote?
Well, we are using social media. We have added $12 million to the county clerk's budget. We sent a note to everyone. I got mine today. If you're over 65, you can do a mail-in ballot. We are fighting, agreeing with places who have gone to court to say you ought to be able to use the fear of COVID as a reason to get a mail-in ballot. We're going to do massive voter registration. You made reference to the census. We're begging people. I'm looking at our plan. We put more money up from the county side than our partners at the city put up, but they'll do more. I mean, we're all in it together. We want to try and get people, particularly in our communities of color, to sign up for the census. It's important because that determines how much money we get from the federal government. It has an impact on how lines are drawn. So we're doing quite a bit, and I'm just so proud. I must give a shout out to Judge Hidalgo and Commissioner Garcia, all of us on Commissioner's Court. I mean, there are issues that we agree on, some we disagree on, but we're taking this out of being a quiet, back border kind of deal. I know when I first came in, they used to say, lower your profile, Senator. We're a shadow government. We're not a shadow government. You know, Harris County, 5 million people. That's larger than 26 states.
Yes, very much the need for continued transparency, engagement. When I've gone out to testify on everything from the disparity study to other, there's overflow rooms now, people who are engaged and want to be part of the process. So let's talk about that disparity study. Where are we and where else will this disparity study continue to manifest?
I want to thank you for standing up. It was not easy. Right before that Harvey bond election, language is put on the ballot for you to come in and say we needed a disparity study. It's required by law if you want to have a program based on race and gender. And you got to know what the numbers are. And we were hiding them here in Harris County. We didn't know what the breakdown was in terms of race and ethnicity at the port and at Metro. You know, people say, well, we don't have the data. And I jokingly say, well, it's because you don't want to have it. But that disparity study took about a year to do it. It's finally ready. I haven't seen it because I don't want us to get sued. I think it'll go out to commissioners and our staff sometime this week, but it has been completed and we'll see what it shows. I think it's going to justify us having a legally sustainable program that takes into account past discrimination. And we're going to have a real program for the 21st century to help minority and women-owned businesses because they are part of the lifeblood of this community.
Well, the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce will continue to advocate for that, continue to work with our local, city, state, and federal officials as we move forward, as they say, together during this COVID-19 virus. And we want to thank you again, Commissioner, for all that you do for Harris County. And thanks for being a great friend to the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Have a great day. On behalf of our Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank you for joining us today here on KHOU 11. Please visit our website. And on behalf of our board of directors, we say thank you. Goodbye.